You said that half of the shootings you've investigated in Fairfax since 2006 involved persons with mental illness.
Correct. Well, that's our assumption. We can't.
You're recommending CIT, which I strongly support.
Correct.
Lieutenant Colonel Tom Ryan gave us some very interesting statistics. 2007, Fairfax trained 30 officers in 1 year. 2008, Fairfax County didn't bother to train any CIT officers. 2009, Fairfax County didn't bother to train any officers. 2010, Fairfax trained 30 officers. So in that time period, they trained a total of 60 officers. Since then, they've sped it up. 2 classes, 40 officers, 4 classes, 40 officers, 3 classes, 40 officers, 2 classes, so 557 officers, assuming all of them are still there. Can you tell us, in looking at the shootings, did you correlate those with CIT to show us that CIT made a difference? How many of those shootings involved CIT? Was there a decrease once Fairfax started speeding up CIT and saw its importance? Or was it consistent on all those shootings?
Well, we did not correlate it. And remember, we're looking at over a 10-year period. So the occurrence is still relatively rare. I mean, you could have, thousands of interactions, and you have one interaction with someone who's mentally ill. So in the aggregate, it looks like a lot, and it is. But on a year-to-year basis, it's still a relatively small number. So I think, look, I think I understand your point. I don't know that we can answer it.
I'm trying to get a correlation between CIT, which I believe is important, and you're saying is important, and what actually happens in the field. Do you have statistics that show how many shootings were avoided by CIT, or statistics that show if a CIT officer was involved in a shooting?
Yeah, no, I don't have those statistics.
Okay, thank you.
Just a comment to Mr. Earley's point. The numbers are good, and I thank him for throwing that out there, but I think it would be inaccurate to ascribe that the department didn't bother to train anybody during those 2 years. And I'll defer to the gentleman on the other side if they wish. But it was my understanding that we used to be dependent upon our training was a shared resource. We had to get together with other jurisdictions to provide enough instructors to conduct a course, and that wasn't always possible. And it's my further understanding that the county and the department have committed the resources now to set up our own instructors so that we can sort of make our own rain and we don't have to wait for the clouds to build in neighboring communities. So for what it's worth, I do think that their commitment is good. It's just a question of how we went about it, and I think maybe we have a better way to do it now.
Well, you have 3 years and you have 60 people, 4 years and you have 60 people trained.
I just wanted to make just a couple observations. One on the kind of back and forth here that Mr. Earley brought up as far as the timing and CIET. When you're talking about that time frame, I think it's very disingenuous to talk about any type of training program without mentioning it within the backdrop of the budget and the challenges that this county and pretty much the country was facing at that time. One of the places that, there was a strong commitment to try and keep the numbers of the department up to meet the needs for service and the street effective. However, we did go through furloughs. The administrative support area and things like the academy were places that got hit very hard. I can remember going up there weeks or months at a time, and that facility was a ghost town. There were some times when we didn't even have academies training, and if we did, it might have been 10 to 12 just to cover critical needs due to retirements. So we need to think about, and if we're getting hit that hard, the Human Services Board was getting even hit harder. And the cuts that came to the Community Service Board and the like were draconian. And I think it's things that we're going to be suffering for years to come. And I don't mean to preach to you, but I know that's something that you definitely understand, but I think we just need to understand where we're training at.
It's important to know, especially for the board supervisor. I doubt you cut out firearms.
Well, there's also strong mandates to maintain those through DCJS for the certifications.
All right, look, I don't, we have a lot of other people that would like to ask questions, and we have limited time.